Hey everybody, Christy here from Elevate Your ABA Supervision. I am here to show you a live demonstration of the coolest tool that I have been using lately in my RBT supervisions. Now, this tool was birthed out of that idea that I really wanted well-documented RBT supervision notes, as well as am I meeting the board's requirements for supervision of my RBTs? I had a pretty great template for the notes that I was taking in supervision. But one thing that I really struggled with was going to that separate document that required me to put on there how many hours we met, was it individual or group, what was the mode of the meeting, was the client present? You know that one, that whole collection that you're doing of your RBT hours too. So I had this brilliant light bulb. Let's put the two together. There birthed the Elevate RBT Supervision Template. I am so excited to share this with you. It has been a great tool for efficiency for my own RBT supervision, and my hope is that it can do the same for you. So let's go take a look. All right, let's go through a play-by-play of the Elevate RBT Supervision Template. When you get the document, open it up. It is a beautiful Excel spreadsheet. You'll see on the first page some instructions, really brief and quick, just this quick overview, tab by tab directions, and some tips down at the bottom. Now, as you get your RBT supervision template set up, keep in mind that you're going to use one template per RBT. This document is intended to track your supervision notes and your supervision hours and compliance needs for each RBT separately. You'll see along the bottom, there's a couple of tabs. We've got our session to session tracker. This will be for each of those individual supervision meetings you have with your RBTs. We then have the monthly dashboard, which collects the information and populates it into a monthly overview for a quick glance at have we met our requirements or not. We also have our RBT goal tracker. So here we're going to be able to document those goals that we create with our RBTs and keep up with tracking and progress. And because we love data and graphs so much, you'll also see the monthly goal mastery. Here, a chart which you can visually see how many goals you're mastering each month with your RBT. Our last page we have here is the resource library. This is going to be a place where you can track the resources and documents that you share with your RBT for future reference or an easy way to locate it if you lose access to the attachment, the link, or the resource. So let's go back to the beginning and see how this works together. So on your session to session tracker, this is going to be, again, where you track each session individually. So let's go and start with our session date. So we have a session on 5/1 of this year. We started our session at noon and went until 1 p.m. So this gives us a total of 60 minutes. In this session, our client was present, it was individual, and we did this supervision face-to-face virtual. So these pieces are going to be looking at those basic requirements of the board that we have each month. What's also really cool is that this content here populates into your monthly dashboard. So you'll see the green criteria with a yes when the monthly criteria has been met. Now, we also know that we need a total session of at least 2. So if we go back in here, document our second day of supervision this month, maybe our client wasn't present this time, it was an individual and it was a face-to-face in person. You can see in the monthly dashboard here that our total sessions turns green also. When we add our total number of client hours for your RBT to this box, it will give us the percentage and making sure that it is at least 5%. Now, if we are under that, oops, I meant to go this way. If we're under that 5%, it won't turn green. So really, as you quickly look at this document here, you're looking for all the spots that matter to turn green and let you know, ding, 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 I've met my requirements for the month. We're going to go back to our session to session tracker and see what the rest of these fields do. So we've got our focus area. So the rest of this document now goes into the content of the supervision and documenting what you worked on with your RBT. You've got your focus areas that come from a dropdown. So today in supervision, we talked about skill acquisition. Next, we have a couple of fields that prompt you to invite the RBT to be a part of the conversation. This can really set up that opportunity for the feedback loop and inviting that back-to-back dual conversation that goes between the supervisor and the supervisee. It's really important for us to know as supervisors what's going on for our RBTs in session, and not everybody is willing to share that information on their own or right away. So this gives you the opportunity to invite them into that conversation. Here we're going to, just document what went well, asking our RBT to fill in that blank for us. And the same as what challenges were faced. It's okay to be authentic in our supervision and in our dialogue and how we support our RBTs, and encouraging them to talk about those challenges too, so that we know as supervisors how to help them. So in column I and column J, you will see the space for that. Now, as we move on to look at some of the specific goals that we've been working on with our RBT, we can pull this from a drop-down menu also. If you click it, it looks blank. But in order to put things to choose from here, we are going to go to that RBT Goal Tracker tab at the bottom. We're going to fill in these fields. So we're going to have, I don't know, let's work with our RBT on reinforcement. And we want to look at our RBT reinforcing sitting behavior within 3 seconds. We started this goal today on, well, the day of that supervision. So what you can see here quickly is that when we don't have a date, or I'm looking at this goal status column here, or if our initiation set date is more than 30 days from the date that you're working on this document, you'll see red was stalled. When we go to add a date, if it's within that 30-day period, it's going to say in progress and be yellow. And then when we go to master, let's say we mastered this one a couple days later, for example, you're going to see that the goal was mastered in green. You're also going to see that it gives you a days to mastery between the date set and date mastered. So it gives you an automatic approximation of how quickly different goals are being mastered with your RBT. If you scroll a little bit more, you'll even see that total count of mastered goals up here in the corner. So once we have our goal here and we go back to our session to session tracker, we now have something to choose from in our goal targeted. So let's say that we targeted this goal in this day of supervision. Specifically, again, it links the goal targeted in the supervision day to the goal tracker document that we have here. Now, this is going to be a running tracker. So as you keep adding goals and assessing how the RBT is doing what they need to be working on, you're going to keep adding your goals there. So for example, if we have another goal on self-care as the RBT, because it is important for the RBTs to be caring for themselves, let's see, we're going to take 5 minutes daily to reflect on something that went well today. And we're going to say that we started this one, let's go the previous month. So we know it's something that needs to be worked on, right? We see that it hasn't been targeted in a while. But again, we also see that we have this as an opportunity of something to work on today in supervision. Your goal check-in column is then going to give you the opportunity just to check in about what we did at that time. So we talked about this goal that hasn't been touched in a while today in supervision, and we know that it needed prompting because it hadn't been worked on in a while. So we have that, we kind of checked in about it and we revisited it and prompted it again. Now, as we keep scrolling, we have space for observation notes for the supervision. What'd you talk about? What kind of things did you see from the client that were notable that we want to remember? We also have spots for strength observed and growth area. So being able to reflect on what were some of the strengths and some of the growth areas that you observed from the RBT during the supervision session. We have another drop down under feedback given where we can identify just a quick glance at what feedback was given today during this supervision. So we adjusted the reinforcement strategy for our client during this supervision meeting. Now, when we keep going a couple of columns over, we have space to, again, to continue that bidirectional feedback, continue that feedback loop, which is really important in our work with our supervisees. We can document, hey, RBT, is there anything you need from me now or in the near future? We can document that there so that we remember. If there's a list maybe that you have as your supervisor, your to-do list or action step, we can document it here in column R. Now we get into the resources in our next focus area. So we have the option, just like our goals, to attach a resource shared to this particular supervision session. But until we have resources in our resource library, nothing will show up in that dropdown. So today in supervision, I shared a self-care log because, again, we were working on that self-care strategy. Our focus of topic, we can pull from this long drop down of a lot of different options. Let's see what matches the most. How about some self-management? And then I'm going to attach the link from the document that I shared right here in this spot. So now when we go back to our session-to-session tracker and we hit this down arrow, we have the resource that we shared. Again, your resource library is going to be a running log of all the resources that you've shared over time. So this list will grow and you can pull from it. Again, if you reference a resource that you talked about last month, it's still going to be in that list and you can pull it up and document it here that you shared the resource or that you discussed it. So we have our self-care log. And then as our session is ending, we're going to wrap up with what's our next focus area, kind of predicting ahead towards that next supervision meeting that you're already thinking about and planning for. But you've got it here at the end of the previous meeting that you can quickly refer to those notes when you get to the next one. So we're going to maintain our current focus for the next meeting. And here we go in column U, space for you to document supervision notes that you didn't fill out in the other columns. Here in column V, you'll see this highlighted. Please do not edit this column. This is auto-populated for a formula that gives us the correct information in the monthly dashboard. So please do not edit that column. Again, you're going to go down here and each of these is going to be a running total or a running log of your supervision meetings over time. And this can be really helpful for you to reflect session to session, check on just that reminder of what you worked on last session that you can bring into this current session today. And again, like we said, what's our next focus area? You could document notes in today's session that you want to remember to talk about next session. And it's right there in front of you on the same document. The idea is that this running log really gives you continuity between your supervision sessions to be able to pick up where you left off and revisit things as appropriate as needed. So that's our session-to-session tracker. Let's look quickly at the monthly dashboard now. So as we saw earlier, our monthly dashboard takes that information from the session-to-session tracker and puts it into some of these automated formulas that, again, you can quickly look and say, ooh, I met this criteria for the month. We're looking good. At the end of the month, you'll input your total client hours, which will make sure that you have the 5% criteria met. So if we're looking at May, this being the month that we had documented on our session-to-session tracker, let's look at these fields to see what they offer. So we've got, again, total sessions, Did we meet the criteria for the client being present, face-to-face, and individual? Then we're going to look at summarizing some of those thoughts that you had in your supervisions during that month. So again, an advantage of having the running log on the session-to-session tracker is we can quickly, at the end of the month, look back and see what themes we noticed. So what was our most frequent focus this month? We can quickly jot it down here. Our most noted strength. We can look at those strengths in that column, see what the theme is that we notice, and identify our most noted strengths here and our most common growth area here just the same. So this kind of gives us a preview month to month of how things seem to be going, what themes are we seeing in the topics we're working on in supervision, as well as the RBT and their strengths and growth areas. You'll also see that it auto-populates the goals that are set during the month and the goals that are mastered during the month. And overall supervisor reflection. This gives you the space to quickly reflect at the end of the month, maybe what focus you have in the next month, if there's any notes that you want to remember throughout the month, or as you think about moving forward, you have your space to do so. So that's our monthly dashboard. We looked at our RBT goal tracker. And so this again is going to be your running log of the goals that you're setting with your RBT and supervision and revisiting them. It can be really helpful. It has been for me, I can share, to have all the goals intentionally in one place because one, it gives me the reflection of, am I goal setting with my RBT? Which is important. We do this with our clients. Why wouldn't we do this with our supervisees? So intentionally, I have the space that's prompted for me to work on setting goals, as well as tracking some of those details. You know, in the notes column, you can add to that every supervision meeting, maybe of the things that you talked about that related to that goal or different barriers that came up that you may want to remember when it comes to that particular goal on your progress towards mastery with it. And then our monthly goal mastery, you can see that as we have that one mastered one, we can start to see some data popping up on our graph. Think about how cool this will look at the end of your supervisory experience with an RBT. This could be really cool information to reflect on maybe an annual eval or different type of progress assessments that you might have with your RBTs. And then again, our resource library is that running log of the resources that you're sharing with your RBT during supervision. A one-stop shop, easy place to come back and look for the things that you've worked on, that you've provided, the documentation. If you document that you gave the resource of a particular policy for the company, and you have the attachment of the link here or the noted resource here, it can again be that revisit to the conversation. Well, we discussed this resource on this day. Talk to me about where the breakdown is of what happened now that we're discussing whatever incident it is that's bringing it back up. All right, so here we go. Here is your Elevate RBT Supervision Template. I am so excited to share this with you. As you dive in, if you choose to use it, please share your feedback. I would love to hear what you find helpful about this document if you do, or if there's any challenges that you come up with it. This system, again, I created to solve a problem for myself. And it has been really helpful to be efficient and effective with my RBT documentation for my RBT supervisions. And my hope is that it does the same for you. But I am always looking at ways to improve systems and make them more efficient and effective. So I welcome and join the brainstorming to do so if you haven't. I really hope you enjoy this resource. And thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with me here today, learning about this awesome resource.